So let's get going on project one. And if I repeat myself on some of this stuff from the intro, I apologize, but just kind of want to make sure I cover my bases. And as a reminder, there are past recordings that I've done, and they're already posted on Brightspace. You're welcome to work ahead a little bit if you want to get this stuff submitted so I can take a look at it. Give you feedback. Please remember to check your feedback, and in many cases there's going to be corrections that I'm asking, telling, I guess, you to make that need to be done and resubmitted. From this point forward, I think all of the submissions are going to receive a grade. And if you're looking at your grade book wondering why I didn't get a grade for something, there's probably a good chance that I asked you to make some changes that hadn't been made and resubmitted. So please do that. As we get going on this, we're going to fill out this template. Basically, that's our project one, is to get to the end here where we have a balance sheet and everything's done and everything says balance down here and all that. These are typical documents that you would see if you were making projections for a business. And this is put together. I've downloaded this anyhow from the Service Corps of Retired Executives. It's a nice format. It works pretty well. It gives you guys a pretty good idea, and you'll start to see some of the interactions between the various financial statements, and that's kind of what I want you to see. I think those are the important things. So first thing on the first page, again, some of this might be old, but you can sort of fill this in. It'd be kind of nice, and maybe even remind me occasionally as you're doing this, as I go through and start correcting these. It's nice to know the type of business. Again, I know you guys submitted your business idea, but I won't know that when I get to the next Dropbox, and so it's nice if you put something in there as to what your business is, so that when I'm correcting them, I get a pretty good idea. Then remember too, you're going to hit some spots every now and then where it's going to tell you that you can't enter data, and that you need to go up and unlock. You hit the review, you hit protect worksheet, even though you're going to unprotect it, right? And the password's just 1234. And they just do that just to try to make sure that you don't make some changes that we don't want you to make, I guess. So yeah, kind of read through. I mean, spend 2 minutes and read this, because that might give you a little bit of help as you go along. Okay. This gives you some color coding. So anything that's this orange color, certainly you can enter data. There'll be a lot of the orange spaces that we leave blank, though, so don't worry about that. And then these kind of yellowish golden colored ones are places where we can make adjustments, but typically we won't. There's a few exceptions, some that we'll definitely make adjustments to. Now, for your first assignment here, we've just got the starting point. It's called. And if you look down here, it says you're fully balanced, and that's what we want to be at when we're done, which means that our sources of funding down here, this total, okay, matches the total required funds. Okay. Now, it should be pretty easy to do, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to fill out this part up here, and then we just have to fill this out in order to make it match, right? So let's start up here at the top then, and we'll kind of go through this. For most of you, and I ask you, pick something simple. This is something that we can scale up if we want to pretty easily. So choose something that's simple. Most of you did in your business idea. A couple of you, I might have sent back a note that said, you might consider scaling this down a little bit. I'm not trying to squash anybody's dreams. I'm just, let's do this project, and I think once you get it done, you'll see that it'd be fairly easy to go back and scale it up. But going through it the first time, it's just nice to have something that's a little bit more manageable. So for most of you, you may well not have any real estate land or buildings. Okay, that's normal. I've told a lot of you, plan on leasing. Okay, that's the best way to get started. You don't have to put down, if you're trying to buy a $500,000 building, land, you got to put $100,000 down. Well, what poor college student has $100,000, right? So And if you do have land and buildings, the reason we separate that, you might purchase it all as one item, okay? But land itself isn't depreciable, okay? And depreciation is something we do under taxes. We kind of call it a non-cash expense, an expense nonetheless. But land isn't depreciable. And you can see that here, not depreciated, right? Buildings are, and so if you're buying that $500,000, you kind of have to make an estimate, guess, whatever you want to call it, as to what portion of that value belongs to the buildings and what portion of that belongs to the land. Most people would, for the immediate tax benefit or the near-term tax benefit, by that I mean over those 20 years anyhow, would pick would try to make the building a little bit higher value so that you get that depreciation. You get to write that off against your taxes. Okay. If you ever go to sell it, then the whole equation kind of changes. But at this point, we're just worried about that. So yeah, so if I was doing that $500,000, let's do something a little smaller. Let's say I had a $50,000, right? I might be simply 10,000 here, and I might be 40,000 then here. Okay. So I got that. Now, I'm gonna delete these. Just kind of wanted to show you, get those entered and whatnot. But I want to delete those because most of you, I said, we're gonna do leases. Okay. Most of you, if you lease a place, and some of you don't have places that you need to lease. You might be running the business out of your home or whatnot, and that's fine. Okay. If that's the case, you might not have anything in these first three, right? Or if you're running it out of your home, you may choose to lease a bit of your home to the business. Okay, that's fine. It tends to send up some red flags at the IRS. That doesn't mean that it's improper or illegal, either one. The IRS just seems to kind of take a little closer look at those than they might others. But in any event, even if you were doing that at home, you might want to redo the basement a little bit, or an office room or something, right? And so you might make some improvements. Or if you're leasing property, let's say you went up to the mall and wanted to lease one of their many vacant units, you might have to put in the flooring, paint the walls, redo some walls, different ceiling, different lighting, whatever the case may be. Okay, those can be leasehold improvements. And I'm going to tell you throughout this, we don't generally want to change any white spaces, but if you want to make notes over here, that's fine. Okay. And notes are wonderful. It gives me an idea, kind of what you're looking at, and sometimes an idea. Then, I had somebody, it's a different class, but using this same software, the same worksheets, and they had in their notes here, and what they had, they just had it in the wrong space, and so we were able to correct that and get it to where normal. So, put some notes over here. That's great, I think. But I might have $5,000. And at this point, we're just kind of making estimates. Do I need you to do a lot of research? No. If you end up taking entrepreneurship, if you were to take it from me, but hopefully I'll be retired, fully retired, then, we'd use this same. And I'd tell you, you'd have to do a lot more research. But at this point, we can kind of make the numbers up, make some rough guesses. If you want to do a little research, Google it. I think that's wonderful. You could add that in, and that's fine. So I'm going to do some leasehold improvements anyhow. My equipment, I don't know what kind of a fake business here I want to say that I'm going to do. Try to do something that nobody else is doing. I think you guys got snow removal and those things. Let's say I'm going to have a little Bobcat business or whatever, right? So I'm going to lease a little office where people can call and make appointments or those types of things. And I'm just going to own one Bobcat, used one, that I'm going to pay $25,000 for. So they'll do that. Furniture and fixtures, most of those are going to be things that you might have in your offices, like desks. If you've got a waiting area and those types of things, you'd have some chairs out there, maybe a coffee table or two, and those things. So, I might even have a little bit of that, but probably not much, right? Maybe $1,000 worth. Vehicles, do I need a vehicle? Well, yeah, I'm not going to run my Bobcat up and down, so I'm going to probably need a trailer to put the Bobcat on and a pickup to pull it, but I'm kind of cheap. I'm going to just do $25,000 for those as well. I don't know. I mean, some of you guys might have some other. I might need attachments for the Bobcat, different things like that, so Again, I'm kind of making things up here just to go along a little bit quicker. So I got 58.5 up there. Pre-opening salaries and wages for this particular business that I'm thinking of, I'm not going to have any salary or wages ahead of time. In fact, I'm just going to have one Bobcat. I'm probably not going to have anybody hired. I might occasionally have some casual labor, and I might find a spot to put that a little bit later. But for the most part, yeah, I can't think of me hiring anybody. And for sure, I wouldn't hire anybody that's a pre-opening. For those of you that might, or I could say this leasehold. Maybe my office, I do need to come up and paint and do some of that stuff ahead of time. I might actually pay some people to help me do that, right? In my case, I'd probably just contract it out, have an independent contractor, and that'd be a part of this 5,000 then up here. But if I were going to do it myself, I might pay some people to help me, and that's where this would go in. Okay, this has nothing to do with the pay after you open your doors. After you actually start the business, that's going to be on a whole separate worksheet. So this would only be the things that you might pay some people to help you set up, help you do some stuff. And not not the accountant, not the lawyer, not those people either. This is people that are just kind of helping you with that location, stocking some shelves maybe ahead of time, things like that. Okay, so that amount, for most of you that have a relatively simple business, that should be relatively low. Prepaid insurance premiums. You're going to have to buy insurance. Okay, I could run things over. I could do all kinds of things in a Bobcat. My experience in a Bobcat's a little bit limited. They're kind of fun to mess with, but I could cause all kinds of havoc on that. So I'm sure that I'm going to have insurance, number one. I'm sure number two, the insurance agent's going to want me to pay them up front. Okay, and what it's going to cost, I'm not sure, but I'm going to make a kind of an educated guess, and also just something that's nice and round. So that's $200 a month, but $2,400, right? Inventory. For my business, I'm going to be digging holes and doing things like that. I can't think any inventory that I'm going to need, right? Okay. For others of you, okay, inventory is going to be those things that you sell then to the final consumer. So don't mix up, and this happens a little too often, don't mix up inventory with some of the supplies that you might have. I might need some supplies. I might need some stakes if I'm staking things out, and I might need some rags for getting my hands dirty or clean after I've gotten my hands dirty, those types of things, right? But I won't be selling anything, but many of you will. If you're going to be a shoe store, well, the shoes are going to be your inventory, right? And that's probably going to be a pretty big number. Okay, if you're going to be a coffee shop, the coffee, maybe some cups, maybe some novelty items, are going to be your inventory, right? So you might have a little bit of a mixture there. Okay, but for me, I get to leave that blank. Legal and accounting fees. This is again, this is what we have here pretty much is all pre-opening. Okay, so don't confuse that. I'm probably going to pay an accountant every year to do my taxes because I'm too lazy to do that. I don't know after I get my entity, probably an LLC set up, that I'm going to need to pay a lawyer very much. There's some filing things that have to be done on an annual basis, but from experience, I know I can do those myself. And so, but I might have to pay a lawyer to kind of set up the LLC, and I might have to pay an accountant to set up my bookkeeping and whatnot that I'll be doing. So that might be around $2,000. Just kind of making some guesses. Rent, I got leaseholds. I'm going to be renting from somebody. Now, this is just the deposit, but some places require, deposit, first month's rent, maybe even last month's rent. So it kind of depends. Think about where you're going to be leasing, those types of things. My rent deposit, now I'm going to say, is about half of what my monthly rent. I think my monthly rent's going to be about $1,000, so I'm going to have to pay a $500 deposit and last month's rent, and the first month's rent, I'm going to do that on my operating expenses. Okay, it'll show up on my operating expenses, but my rent deposit is going to be the $500 plus my last month's rent. When I get over here to operating expenses, and it says rent or lease, business property, I'll put the first month's rent there. Okay. Utility deposits. Sometimes you got to pay to hook up to the power. Sometimes you got to pay to hook up to the water and sewer and those types of things. It might depend on your jurisdiction or where you're at. It also depends a lot on whether you've already had some existing accounts, okay, with that particular utility provider. So those things kind of vary. I think in Havre now, if you want to get hooked up, especially if you're in a strange location or it's been shut down for a while, I think you do have to pay a bit of a deposit. I don't think it's a heck of a lot. That's for your water and sewer. Power, too, may have a bit of a deposit, but we're not talking a ton of money, I don't think. So supplies, again, for my business, it might be stakes, and I'm going to stake, property out, some line string, to line things out. Some different things like that I'm probably going to need for sure. And for a lot of you, if you've got a location where customers are coming in, you might need things like in the bathroom, cleaning supplies, toilet paper, paper towels, those types of things. So think about that. Again, make some little notes over here as to what it might be. For me, it's shop rags, stakes, string, some things like that. It's not going to be a heck of a lot. That may be a little, oops, I didn't want 5. I just wanted, or 5,000. I just wanted 500. Okay. Advertising and promotion. I'm going to have some of this ahead of time. I might even buy some magnetic signs, for the side of my pickup that I'll be pulling the Bobcat with, pulling the trailer with that the Bobcat's on. I might even want to put some signs or decals on the Bobcat itself. I might have a little sign or decals that go on the windows of where my office will be, and some different things like that. Again, this is all pre-opening. After I'm open, I'll probably have some continuing advertising that I might want to do, or some seasonal stuff for sure for this type of business that I might want to do. But for the pre-startup, it's going to be a lot of those things: decals, maybe signage, some different things like that. Some of you may need some impressive signs, maybe some awnings and those types of things that can get to be a little bit more expensive. Maybe you want to run a billboard. Maybe you're going to run some newspaper ads, and I might do a little bit of that for mine too, or some radio ads ahead of time. Set up your web site, set up your Facebook page, those types of things that I'm not that familiar with. But yeah, there's going to be some of this, and most people kind of underestimate what advertising might be. So I'm going to put $1,000. That may be more than what I need. I hope so for the pre-startup, but put that in. May not be enough either when you start thinking about some of those costs. Licenses. Now, what kind of licenses would I need? Well, let's see. I don't think in Havre there's a requirement for a business license. I might need independent contractors certification or something that goes through the state, and I'll throw that in this license category. It may not actually be a license. License plates, I guess you could throw that maybe on there. That's also, it could be under here, this other miscellaneous stuff or other initial startup costs here. So they, some of these things, they could cross over, and that's fine. But I'm not going to need a lot for licenses, that's for sure. Vehicles, the trailer and a pickup, that may get a little bit costly. I might need $600 or so there. Other initial startup costs, catch-all, right? Just an estimate. Usually it's good to put something in there. So now, working capital. We have to have working capital. What the SBA says is that generally what they want it to be is about 6 months worth of operating expenses. Well, I don't know what my operating expenses are, right? Because I haven't filled this out yet, and I'm not going to fill it out for a while. So I'm just going to make a guess. I can come back and change this if it turns out that my 6 months or my monthly operating expenses are more like $10,000 a month rather than the $5,000 a month that I'm thinking right now. Okay, I can go back and easily change this, and so I just kind of want to think. Let's see, I'm going to have $1,000 a month in rent. I'm going to have fuel. I'm going to have different things like that. Some advertising. Maintenance, so I'm gonna about $3,000 or $4,000 a month, maybe on the low side $3,000, and so times 6, I'm going to need about $18,000 then in working capital. Okay, and right now that's about the best we can do is kind of make that type of an estimate. Okay, so now my total required funds, that's 58.5 here, 27,250 here. I need $85,750. We get down here, you can see I'm in the hole 85,750. So we need to make that go away and make this turn green, right? And the way I do that is I got to think things through a little bit. So normally, okay, any kind of a loan that you're going to get or any kind of financing like that you're going to get from the bank is going to require 20 to 25% equity. Okay, equity could either be owner's equity or outside investors. Now, 20% of 85,000 is about 17,000, a little more than that. So I might round that up a little bit and just say I'm going to come up with 20 grand of equity. I've been putting my excess student loans away, and I got that in the bank. And then I'm gonna get some from my mom. She's gonna be an investor in my business as well. And so I got about 23% equity. Okay, and it's 10,000 a piece, but I still need to fund $65,750. See how easy this is? Okay, well, I look at these categories, and what I want to make sure that I do is that my debt matches up to the things that I'm doing up here. So my pickup and my vehicle, are 25 grand, or my pickup and my trailer are 25 grand. I'm going to finance those. I can finance those on a vehicle loan. Again, 80% of it, because I got 20% equity. So I'll finance 20 grand of my deal, of my funding needs through a vehicle loan. Okay, there we go. Now I'm at 45,750. Okay, I got a commercial loan, commercial mortgage, credit card debt, or other bank debt. Well, let's see. A mortgage, I can only have a mortgage if I have real estate. And I decided I wasn't going to buy any real estate, so I can't have a commercial mortgage. So we leave that one out, right? I don't really want to fund much, if any, on credit cards. Now, being a former banker, I can tell you I know of a few businesses that started when people maxed out credit cards and actually ended up being successful, and that's not the way I'd recommend it, however. Okay, so so I'm probably not going to have a commercial mortgage. I'm probably not going to have any credit card debt. Other bank debt's kind of a catch-all. I don't know. But the commercial loan, I mean, if I were doing this honestly, then I'd get the rest of this financed in the form of a commercial loan. Okay, go to the bank, get an SBA guarantee, whatever the case may be. I'm going to plug that in here. I need 45,750. Geez, I'll plug in 45,750, and there I am. I'm fully funded and I'm balanced. Okay, so the bottom part really should be that easy, but make sure you have 20-25% equity. You could have a little bit more. One of the requirements though is I do want you to have some debt. Okay, even if your business may be small, heck, you might have 5 grand up here, and that's fine. But I want you to have some of that in debt. It could be a commercial loan, it could be other bank debt, something like that. Just because I want you to see how the debt works again throughout these formulas. So do that if you would. That's it for the starting point. Okay, that gets us a good start. Next, we'll probably move on to the payroll and some of the other forms. May even do some of those a little later this week. We'll see. So I'll make this assignment due. I forget. I think I've already got it built in. Maybe it's due the end of this week or end of next week. So thanks.